Good morning, good afternoon, and good evenings to all of you, wherever you are dialing from. And on behalf of ISWA, my name is James Law. I welcome you to ISWA December webinar organized by ISWA General Secretariat and the Working Group on Landfill. We are going to have an amazing group of participants, and this program will be recorded and made available for your access in the future. You will be muted during our program, but you can always post your questions, and we'll try our best to answer them after the presentation during Q&A sections. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our ISWA General Secretariat, Leonie Hoekland, our event manager, and Fab McDonald, our technical project managers, for their tireless support and dedication to make sure that our webinar runs smoothly. I hope that you all enjoyed today's webinar, but before I introduce our speaker, please allow me to introduce ISWA to some of you who may not be familiar with ISWA and would like to get more involved with ISWA activities. ISWA is the world's leading network promoting professional and sustainable waste and resource management. ISWA represents all aspects of stakeholders within the waste management sector, the public, the private, and the academic. ISWA's mission is to promote sustainable waste management worldwide. We have more than 1,300 members in 110 countries, which kind of represent over half of the United Nations members. ISWA has a very unique global network. We have 49 national members, which form the General Assemblies, and they meet once a year at the World Congress. And we also have 3 chapter development networks, first in Latin America, and second in Southeast Europe, and Middle East, and Mediterranean, and the third is in Asia and Pacific Rim. ISWA also have 10 technical working groups, as you see the list here. And if you're interested in joining any of this group, just contact our General Secretariat. Currently, the working group on landfill has about 85 members, and we welcome any of you who wanted to join us, so long as you are ISWA individual members or nominees by ISWA organization members and national members. And we are going to roll out bi-monthly webinars beginning in January 2021. So stay tuned with our announcement and notification through our newsletters. And of course, we had to thank our sponsors. Without them, our webinar is not possible. So, I just want to show them who they are. And now, if you're interested in joining ISWA as members, whether it's individual organization or members, you can contact Daniel Purchase. His email is listed here. Anytime you'd like to. And now, let me introduce the speaker now. And today's topic is on the roadmap on sustainable waste management in the developing countries. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you a dynamic and energetic speaker, Dr. M.D. Sahadat Hussain. Dr. Hussain is a professor of Civil Engineering Department at the University of Texas in Arlington. And he has over 20 years of professional and research experience in sustainable waste management, landfill gas to energy, and landfill mining. He works on research, development, and implementation of innovative solutions for sustainable waste management and provides supports for waste management projects in US as well as in developing countries. Dr. Hussain is the founding director of Organized Research Center of Excellence or we known as Solid Waste Institute for Sustainability, Swiss. Since 2015, he has championed and initiated the ISWA Swiss Winter School program called Sustainable Waste Management and Landfill Training. This program has been running for the last 5 years with participants from all over the world, from more than about 80 countries. Today's webinar is a topic very dear to his heart, and you can feel it when you hear what he has to say and share with you. With that, let's welcome Dr. Hussein.
Okay, thank you, James, for your nice introduction. And today I'm going to talk about the topic. I think everybody can see the screen, I hope. James, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a roadmap for sustainable waste management in developing country. And this is a topic that's very close to me, very interesting to me, and I am very positive. Some of you may get some idea from here, which will be helpful for you. And I am doing this presentation of this kind for last 3-4 years, and we are trying to make sure that whatever you are talking about, it is reaching a greater solid waste authority and the solid waste audience, so that if they are having an issue, they can implement it in their cities or local community. So what do we mean by roadmap? We are going to see at the end of the slide, but first I'm going to present what are some of the pressing issues that we have with solid waste management. Urbanization is, one of the major issues and one of the things that's happening around the world. What do you mean by urbanization? People are moving from rural areas to urban areas. And there is a shift in population from one place to another place. So if we look at this figure here, photos here, people used to use a vehicle, animal pulled vehicle in the beginning, then it went to the train, then now we have the bullet train. So with urbanization, our transportation mode has changed. Our way of living has changed. If we look at this, I'm showing how urbanization is affecting our mode of transportation. What about way of living? Look at this urbanization. Comparison of Dubai between 1990 and 2013. As a landfill aficionado or professional and a solid waste management professional, if you look at this, the first 1990, we can see there are a lot of space. Now in 2013, the photo, if you want to put a landfill in the middle of the road and next to a load and waste management facility, it's not going to happen. So urbanization is going to, change our way of thinking and dealing with waste. Look at Kuala Lumpur, 1990, 2014. There is a big shift. With the change, we can also see there is a change in number of people living in the same community. It has increased significantly. Look at Korea, back in 1961 and 2011, it's a completely different picture. We cannot even imagine the picture of 1960 in Korea if you are from this new generation. Shanghai, it's a complete shift. So with urbanization, what is happening? With urbanization, economic wealth for people increases, standard of living increases. That's all very good. At the same time, consumption is increasing significantly. If you are a business guy, if you are a business professional, if you're having a business, this is all music in the air for you. You're doing great in the business. As a waste management professional, I'm not looking at the business side of it. I'm looking at the environmental and waste side of it. With all these, waste generation increases. Look at this photo. People are buying more because their wealth has increased with the urbanization. Their income has increased. With the standard of living increase, people start buying more and more. It's good. We cannot tell them, yes, you have more money, but don't buy anything. Nobody's going to listen. So if people are buying more And look at the third photo here at the bottom. This is a Thanksgiving photo in USA. Thanksgiving usually have a lot of sale. Other than human being, everything you are looking at here can be reused or recycled, or these are all very important materials that either end up going to landfill or not being reused and thrown somewhere in the world. That should not happen. We are not saying that we should not buy more. We are not saying we should not reduce consumption. That will be in direct conflict with the business professionals. You cannot, make enemy of each other. We have to work together. We have to work in a way that they can run their business and waste management can be held in a way that's sustainable. Now, look at this. We are talking about, waste management or waste generation, waste increasing. Look at the trend right now. Based on the World Bank report, low-income countries, the waste generation is going to be tripled by 2050. Middle-income countries is going to be doubled. By next, 2030, it's going to be more than 50% more, the waste generation. Upper middle income is increasing around 20 to 30%. High income, the increase is not that much because of their waste source separation, and use of different material. Now, there is another reason high income countries' income level is already high. So whatever they are generating, that income level is not going up that much. But in the low income and lower middle income countries, if we go back here, these places, there are a lot of urbanization happening and people's economic wealth is increasing. So waste generation is increasing. Now with increased generation in lower and lower middle income, what is happening with the collection, how they are processing the material, how they are handling the additional waste. Look at this, generation and collection. If we look at it, North America, Europe, Latin American countries, they are now in good shape based on 2018 data from World Bank. But look at South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. The waste collection rate is less than 50%. Now, uncollected waste, what happens to the uncollected waste? They cause air pollution. They are a very serious effect on public health, respiratory illness, diarrhea, dengue fever. Another major cause of flooding in urban cities nowadays is flooding. Why? Because of the uncollected waste. Why? Uncollected garbage end up going to the drainage system, which also includes a lot of plastic, and that they go and clog the drainage system, causes draining and flooding during the rainy season. Look at this. This is, supposed to be a lake next to a very poor neighborhood. It's a lake that you can walk from one side to another side. Why? It's all completely filled with garbage. Which garbage? Uncollected garbage. This is a photo from Dhaka city back in 2019. There was 2-3 days of continuous rain and the city was flooded. Why? Is it the city below the water flooding level? No, because the city's drainage system were clogged with uncollected garbage. We cannot let it happen. People can come up with many different explanations, but we need to make sure that the waste collection or generation is not only related with waste collection, it's also related to the environment. It's also related with flooding. And it has a very serious effect on public health. Look at this another photo. This is a very nice photo where both bus and boat we are seeing in the same place. Very interesting. But as a waste management professional, you can see the problem, what is happening there. Now, with all these issues that we had around the world, we had more waste, more garbage in everywhere, we were hit with COVID-19. What happened? What is the impact of COVID-19 in waste generation, waste collection, and waste management? Very serious implication, including the public health and well-being of the waste worker, waste professional, people who are working in landfill, people who are working in material recovery facility, people who are working in waste to energy facility. We need to make sure they can remain healthy during their operation. Now, COVID-19, if you look at this, this is all the waste on the left-hand side, yellow. This is from Wuhan, a photo. Medical waste. Medical waste generation was 6 times more in China, in Wuhan, where is the starting point of all the COVID, than the normal time. So to handle additional generation of medical waste, they had to have 46 mobile waste treatment facilities. And if you look at the healthcare professionals, mask, gloves, cleaning cloth, wipes, everything you look here other than the human body, most of them are made out of plastic. Okay, and we talked about plastic is a problem in the waste management. Look at this here. Laura Tenenbaum from Forbes reported in April 25, the amount of plastic waste is surging like never seen before during the coronavirus pandemic. Why? Look at the photo. Left, everything is plastic. Their whole body, clothes they are wearing are made out of plastic. In the grocery store, before COVID, many of the cities in America and Europe, they are banning one-time use plastic bag. But the moment COVID hit, the plastic company, they're very smart. They saw that there's an opportunity. Why? COVID virus can stick to the plastic or metal surface for 72 hours. So they immediately took that opportunity and said, no, you cannot use one time, a reusable bag, because in your bag, there is a potential that virus is sticking there. So whatever you use, you have to throw them. Immediately, the one-time use bag went up significantly around the country and around the world. So that was a report in April 25. Look at this. Reuters report by Joe Brook, October 5, plastic pandemic, because everywhere, everything we're using is plastic. Now, since 1950, 6.3 billion tons of plastics were generated and used. How much were recycled? 91% has never been recycled. And cost of recycled product is now more expensive than using the virgin material. So this puts a tremendous pressure on the people who are trying to use, circular economy, who are trying to use, the recycling as a business and mode of living. And with all this, look at another number. Total mass production in China is expected to exceed 100 billion only in 2020. Does that mean the 100 billion will be used in China? No, it will be used around the world. What's the implication of this one-time use mask? Littering. People are using the mask and they are not paying attention. They're just throwing it everywhere. We already had a lot of issue with the plastic going into the drainage system and clogging the drain line. With this is creating another dangerous situation. Look at the beach. This was back in April. Now, if you go to any beach, there are a lot of face masks lying around there. If I used to go to for a run in the park, I never saw any mask. Now, when I'm running in a particular trail, I can see a lot of face masks in both sides of the trail that we didn't see before. So you need to understand, this is a COVID time. People are going to use masks. But as a citizen, as a people who wants to help the country, help the economy and everything, we need to make sure we don't throw the mask in everywhere. We should only throw them in the designated place. We should not be littering the mask. We already have a lot of littering in the environment. We don't want to add another layer. What's the problem with this? The waste worker who are handling the waste, they can get affected, because with this mask, the virus, if there is a virus, they can stick to the surface for 24 hours. If the waste workers are coming and collecting them and they are getting in touch with them, there is a potential they'll get affected. So we need to make sure that we are thinking about them also. Clog drain, we already have the drain issue with the clog with the plastic. With this face mask, they can easily get into the drain and clog. If the problem can be even worse than what we have now. Now, with all this issue, how we are managing the waste? If you look at the waste management hierarchy, source reduction and reuse is the number one. Recycling and composting, energy recovery, and finally, treatment and disposal, which is basically dumping into the dump site or landfill. This is the ideal scenario. What is happening around the world? 70% of the waste globally goes to dump site or landfill. This is very interesting. Why? If we look at the priority, that's supposed to be the last option. Source reduction and reuse, they're only 19 to 20%. Thermal reuse or waste to energy recovery is only 11%. That means even though we have a lot of new technology, people are not using new technology. Why? Maybe they are used to with the current method. Maybe they don't know the new technology, or maybe that they don't want to change. They don't know the serious implication of this dump site, open dump on the environment. Let's look at few of the implications. Look at this. This is an open dump site. Many times in the evening, waste pickers can go and buy, intentionally they put on fire. Why? When there is fire, if there is any metal, they can collect the metal very easily. This is a very serious health risk because you're burning plastic and different kind of metal and different kind of toxic material there. The air quality around, if you take the air quality measurement there, the PM 2.5 and dioxin is going to be terrible there. Are people paying attention? Some countries are, some countries are not. Look at this. This is an open dump site. When I went to Tanzania, a few years ago, this was something that I saw on the site. So I talked to the landfill manager. I said, why you guys are letting this go? This may kill people. He said, hey, Dr. Hussain, don't worry. Our number is weekly 1 death. If it is more than one person dying in a week, then we become concerned. Think about it. Weekly 1 people's death is normal. That means 52 people dies in a given year in that landfill site or an open dump site. That's not acceptable. They can say, we are trying to make sure this and that, but this is risky. We need to come up with the well-being of the waste picker who in some way contributing very, a positive way to the waste management service. This is a completely opposite picture. This is not an interactive session. I was going to ask the question, can anybody imagine where this is? Just to let you know, this is under a landfill in Finland that I visited back in 2013. So this tunnel, they have all the leachate collection pipe, gas collection pipe, and maintenance pipes goes through the tunnel. That means if they have to do any maintenance, they can come down to the tunnel and do the maintenance for the landfill operation. It really amazed me when I saw this facility in Finland. Point is, some country can afford it, some country cannot even afford to have a sanitary landfill. This is inside the landfill. This is outside the same landfill. We are sitting, if you look at this green, this is basically a gas collection pipe. We are somewhere 200, 300 feet one side of it, and the tunnel was beneath this. This was me in Finland back in 2013. Now, we have landfill, we have waste management facility, we have open dump. Even though it's I'm showing again here. In 1990, if you want to put a landfill in Dubai, anywhere next to this building, 1 mile down the line, nobody is going to complain because there is not many people. Okay, we cannot find a landfill site in 2013 Dubai in the city. It's not possible. Kuala Lumpur, same thing. Seoul, same thing. Shanghai. So that means if we have to find a new landfill now, and after we designed the landfill for 20, 30 years, after the design period, what are we going to do? Are we going to look for another landfill? Can we find a landfill site in these places? No. Can we find, if we have a landfill site in Delhi now, and that the landfill in Delhi is full, can we find easily a new location for landfill with 100 to 150 acres? Those lands in Delhi are more expensive, some cases, than Manhattan. We cannot find a space. So if we are 70% of the people are using landfill and we don't have enough space, something is wrong. We cannot survive with the conventional sense of landfill. Another problem with landfill, NIMBY, not in my backyard. Everybody wants waste to go away. Everybody wants the waste to be managed sustainably. But when you try to put a landfill in some neighborhood, everybody complains. This is a riot in Naples, Italy, because they had a waste management facility that was full. They wanted to build a new one in a new location, and the people in the new location, they rioted. They said, no, you cannot build it here. Okay. This is a different crisis in Lebanon in 2015. Their landfill was full, and they did not plan ahead of time to build a new one, and they closed the existing one. So what is the implication? People were dumping all their waste in the neighborhood, and they were burning them. I mean, this was so risky. and dangerous for the people living around those houses, people living around this neighborhood. When we are talking about waste is a problem and we have no place to find it, put them in. Sweden is importing garbage. This is a completely different scenario. When you are talking about garbage is a problem, in Europe, some countries, there is an export-import business going with the garbage. Why? Sweden has a lot of waste to energy plant, and their energy, heating energy, it comes a lot from burning the trash they have. So whatever the garbage they have, they basically almost everything they reuse for their waste to waste facilities, and their recycling rate is very, very high. Now, because their recycling rate is very, very high, they don't have enough garbage to burn them for their waste to energy facilities. So what they do, they go to the neighboring countries like Norway and import garbage from there. So now we said recycling is very good, but for Sweden, seems like recycling is not that good an idea, because if they recycle, they don't have enough material for burning. What does that mean? That means one solution does not fit all. What may be applicable for one country may not be applicable for another country. What may be applicable for one region, rich or neighborhood, may not be applicable for the poor neighborhood. So we need to, when you're talking about global waste management, we need to keep this in mind that our management practices or solution, we cannot have a cookie cutter solution. One solution, okay, let's put everybody in that solution, everybody should follow that. No, we need to look at geographical location, income level, and how their waste characteristics is. All this together, we need to customize the solution for each neighborhood, each country, each city. Okay, but there can be some probable similarities between the cities and region that way based on their waste characteristics and income level. Then we can start isolating different regions. But the point is, we need to look at area by area, country by country, city by city. We cannot say, okay, this is a very good solution for Sweden. Let's go back to Dhaka or Nepal, or pick a city, rural city in India. Okay, implement the same thing there. No, we cannot do that. We need to look at the feasibility of implementing that way. Now, if landfill, there is a major issue with the space in the landfill. Another very good technology, and I like the technology, that's waste to energy. Why don't we go to waste to energy and use it everywhere? Because with waste to energy facility, you need less space. One thing that we need to keep in mind, waste to energy, we are burning in most cases the waste. We need to make sure the characteristics of the waste are in a way they can be used for waste to energy facility, number one. Number two, we need to look at the implication, environmental implication, air quality, water quality, land pollution or soil pollution, if there is any from waste to energy, or the fly ash or bottom ash that's coming from the waste to energy. Do we have a plan for this? Let me pay a little bit attention here, and then we can go forward. Look at this, low-income countries. The waste characteristics in low-income countries, organic content is 64%. And high-income countries, organic content is 28%. This organic content includes a lot of food waste for developing countries or low-income countries. And because of that, their waste is relatively wet. If the waste is relatively wet, and in the Europe and America and the developed countries, they have high paper and plastic content, and the water content is low. So the energy potential or the BTU value for Europe and USA is very high. On the other hand, for developing country, it's very low. Moreover, because the waste is wet, it's very difficult to burn them and make some energy out of it. This is another slide. The calorific value for EU is 8,000. USA is 13,000. For India and Bangladesh, just for low-income countries, 3,000 and 6,000. Bangladesh government just implemented, the idea that they want to use waste to energy in Bangladesh. If they don't modify their waste, if they don't do a lot of things upfront, which is, possible to do, but it's not easy to implement if you don't have, very strict enforcement of the regulation. This is going to be disaster for them. They need to pay attention now before they get too much into it. Look at this. With all this is, that's just the technical waste characteristics. What happens to the air quality? Again, I want to bring in the COVID because this is happening right now. Waste to energy facility or incineration, they releases, cancer-causing dioxin and furans. They are also a major source of PM 2.5, particulate material, tiny dust particle that can easily get to your body. And based on Harvard research, 1 microgram extra PM 2.5 increases the risk of COVID death by 15%. This is based on the data, preliminary data from across the country in USA. And PM 2.5 can penetrate the body, which promotes hypertension, heart disease, breathing trouble, and diabetics. If you look at all these 4, they are also increases the complication for coronavirus patients. Okay. In Wuhan, they have 5 major incineration plants, and they had a lot of concern and problem there, because some cases they are near 200 meters from the nearest neighborhood. A lot of people died in Wuhan in the beginning. Look at USA. The left picture that you see, these are the location where they have many waste to energy plants. Look at the initial death in USA. Wherever you have more waste to energy plant, death were more in those places. Look at this. Who are living next to them? Black or Latino people. Look at the preliminary data from USA. Blacks and Latinos combined together, the death is 66% accounts for Black and Latino than white and Asian. Why? Many of them are living next to the waste to energy plant, and the place where there is, air quality is very bad. We had a publication, in Bangladesh a few days ago, last month or in October, that, is waste to energy applicable in Bangladesh? You can look into this article. And I want to give one reference, in Okla waste to energy plant in India, the cardiologist reported that in emergency and intensive care unit patient has gone up significantly with asthma and other heart related issues since the plant started burning the trash there. This is one. If you look at around the world, there are a lot of cases like this. So we need to pay special attention to this. Now, with all this, we understand, we got a very good picture of the problem. How we can solve this problem? My only idea is we cannot do business as usual. Open dump, old landfill, sanitary landfill. Even though the sanitary landfill, we need a lot of land. And after 20, 30 years, you have to close it. We need to go what I call a sustainable resource management system. That should be the future. How does it work? In that system, collection, based on the developing country data, collection is very poor. We need to increase the collection. And to increase the collection, and another thing we have to do, we have to create social awareness across the world. Now, this awareness doesn't mean only the people, population, only the residents will be aware. We need to make sure that our politicians, our decision makers, our policy makers know what we are talking about. So there is collection, and the big box here, we have processing and final disposal. If you look at the top, I said system. Most of the country have the system. They have the processing, they are collecting the trash and they're taking it somewhere. But they are not processing, they are not getting the output through which they can make money. With the roadmap, if we have both system and output, waste management will not be a liability. It will be an asset for every city and every country. Look at this, what are you talking about? This is, there are many roadmap, there is many flowchart. I'm just picking one of them. Let's say, everybody said we should do the source separation. Yes, it's a very good idea. USA is trying for source separation for the last 30 years. Success rate is still less than 30%. Europe is more successful in source separation. When you go to a developing country, in a poor country, we tell them to source separate and to give them 2 different buckets to the waste, they will not use those buckets for separating the trash. They will use those buckets for their daily use. There's the reality on the ground. Let's say we collect all the garbage mixed. We take it to a MRF, separate as much organic material and plastic material and recyclable material. Whatever the recycled material we separate, we reuse them to make something else. So if there's something that cannot be reused, that can go to the final disposal. Whatever organic material we can separate, we can use it for composting. If we still left over, we can use it for low-cost AD. I'm going to talk about it. If we still have leftover, we can send it to temporary disposal or biocell or waste to energy plant. There is no landfill here. Landfill, the idea is once you put it, it's full, we cover it, we go away. We dig out another hole. With the idea of biocell and temporary disposal, we are never going to close the cell ever. It will continue running. Look at this. With these two slides, let's go to the next one. This is the final roadmap that I want everybody to remember and go back with. Sustainable material and resource treatment, smart facility. What do I mean by this? This is a facility gated. We cannot say, it's like USA, we have a lot of gated communities. It's not a gated community. It's a boundary where we tell people this is a smart facility. If someone asks what is a smart facility, this is a sustainable resource management and treatment facility. And we put the acronym. For many smart cities, we'll need a smart facility. We have mixed waste. In that facility, we'll have a location. This is not to the scale. Based on our need, we can rearrange the size. We'll have material recovery facility. Recycled material goes to the recycling center. Possibly we make a product or we process them to make a product. Organic material goes to the composting and leftover goes to the anaerobic digester. Anaerobic digester and biocell and anything that is left over goes to biocell, which will be, reused. The cell will be reused again and again. And in the biocell, we can also produce gas. So if we look at this, and we can have waste to energy facility, provided we can take care of the environmental pollution. So the garbage truck is going in, there's the input, output from the facility, usable commodities, biogas to energy, waste to energy, or compost. My point is, we don't need to have a lot of space. If we can have designated place for a smart facility in the beginning, we should be able to reuse. This is like a factory. We should be able to reuse this space for 100 years, 150 years. Doesn't matter, waste generation is increasing or decreasing. Based on the increase or decrease, we will change our operation to different types. Okay. This is material recovery facility. This is advanced material recovery facility. This is semi-automated. But for developing country, we can put, manual sorting facilities so that we can employ more people who live around the neighborhood. The people, if we close the dump site and say, there is no more dump site, or there is a lot of waste pickers, we put these waste pickers in work, they can do the sorting here. They're doing the sorting on the working fees anyway. But here, they will be doing the sorting in a structured way. Okay. Now, with all this, material recovery facility, where it's reusing, we are taking out a lot of plastic, clean material. What's the problem with this now? China banned importing any plastic or recycled material from the world since January 2018. They mandated a new regulation, I think last month. They are not going to import anything. They initially banned some of the items, now they banned everything. So when you are recycling and getting the plastic, what's the use of this? Now, we started using plastic in Texas. The plastic bottle, we convert this plastic into plastic pin. These pins are 4" by 4" by 10 feet long, and we are using for civil engineering infrastructure, highway slope project. So that means whatever is left over, it's usable, there is a lot of plastic generated. If we send them to landfill, it takes a lot of space and volume, and it stays there for a long time. But if we reuse them for civil engineering infrastructure, we are directly using the pin. Now, plastic. Now, these plastics are everywhere in the world. We need to come up with reusable local market. Let me show you a video here.
Well, Texas has more bridges than any other state, 52,000 to be exact, but the money to maintain them, it's pretty hard to come by. But a UT Arlington researcher believes he has found a cheap and effective way to help all of this. It all comes down to this. A recyclable
Lonnie, can you run the
bottle.
video?
Channel 8's Jason Wheeler explains.
Drivers speeding down this stretch of
It is
287 near Midlothian are probably blissfully unaware that the edge of the pavement is badly cracked and that the highway hillside is slipping away.
Yes, Ada, it is running.
Except in spots
Okay.
where the slope is being buttressed by garbage.
And when the slope is trying to slide, the pin is holding them.
UT Arlington civil engineering researcher Dr. Sahada Hussain explains that hundreds of 10-foot rods made from recycled plastic have been jammed into the ground here to stop a problem called slope failure.
It's almost everywhere in Texas.
The solution originated elsewhere, but Dr. Hussain and his team at UTA redesigned how the pins are deployed, making them effective even in the notoriously shifting soils of Texas.
It's perfectly working.
Here's how they know it's working. They treated part of this hillside by putting those rods in the ground, but part of it they left alone. On the part that was treated, you can see that on either side of the original crack in the ground, my feet are almost level. But if we walk down to the portion where they didn't put the rods into the ground, you can see that there's a significant difference. My feet far from level now as the hillside is actually peeling away.
The State Transportation Department recently awarded Dr. Hussain a $1 million grant to replicate the idea in trouble spots along Highways 183 and 360.
So you could be a busy guy.
I want to be.
From there, the program could go statewide, says Dr. Hussain, because the fix usually takes less than a week and costs less than half the price of traditional repairs. Plus, it uses a recycled material that we've learned from landfills lasts a long time when buried in the ground. Jason Wheeler, Channel 8 News.
Okay, so with the video, we got a sense, how, and that has been a very successful project. And that's not only the one thing, it's very, very cost effective. The conventional solution and our solution, we're providing it only in 20%. Saving is 80%. Now, some of the organic material, that will be diverting from the sorting facility, it goes to the composting. And we can do the composting and make it a material. We can also use some of them for anaerobic digester. Remember, these anaerobic digesters, above ground ones, are in US and Europe, they are very expensive. We can use different anaerobic digester that's suited for the local community or developing countries. Now, this kind of digester can be home-based or community-based. Both of them works because this is very cost-effective. One thing I want to pay everybody the attention to, this is very good solution for the waste management because if we have this gas, they can use it for cooking gas. Why? Look at this cooking condition in many of the developing countries. The smoke that's coming out, they are highly toxic. More than 100,000 people are dying across the world every year. I don't have the exact number, but the number is very, very high. This is high, the highest number of people in the world dies from the pollution. That's from the indoor air quality, indoor air pollution. We can basically eliminate those through this neighborhood level or community level anaerobic digester. Now, the biocell that we are talking about, is part of this smart facility. We put the waste in one cell and, go fill up the, if it's a 20 years cell design, each cell will take 5 years to fill. When you go to cell number 4, 20 years, cell number 1 will be 15 years old. When you're filling cell number 1, we can start digging out the material from cell number 1. What's the benefit? Whatever is remain there, if we use only the materials, whatever remains come out from there, we recycle everything from there. Some of them will be compostable material. We can, rearrange a little bit, retreat a little bit, and you will be able to use. So if we design a place and we can reuse this again and again, we're not talking about recycling the material. We are talking about recycling the space itself. That way, in a smart facility, we are never running out of space. Okay, this is a video, but I'm not showing the video. I'm going to the next slide. This is also another report we just published in Bangladesh. Again, waste as a resource, not as a liability. If you want, you can get access to that paper. Now, for sustainable resource management, why we are doing it? In many countries, we are now either linear economy or recycling economy. Okay, and that's very good. We are recycling, but even with recycling, some of them are going to the waste cycle. Through the circular economy, everything can be really taken out. Now, why people are not going into the circular economy? What is the reason? There may be few reasons. Number one, people don't know that there is circular economy. Look at this photo. This photo always, will say, okay, we have a new technology, but the policy makers or decision makers are not willing to listen to this. There is a flaw in this photo. we are standing behind the policymaker with the technology, the rotating, circular wheel. How will they know? They are so busy pushing their cart, they may not have enough time to look back. I am not blaming the politicians. I am not blaming the policymakers. All I am saying, maybe we have the technology, but they are not aware of the technology. We need to be ahead of them and inform them that, there is a new technology. If one of them sees this circular wheel, I can definitely tell you, based on my interaction with the politician, they will adopt this technology. So if some countries, there is still recycling economy or linear economy, maybe we have the solution, but we are not reaching the right people, not talking to the right people to implement the right technology. So how can we do this? One of the way, reach out to more people. And with this, we just, got accepted for a new publication, The Waste Crisis Roadmap for Sustainable Waste Management in Developing Countries. I am the author of the book. James Law is the co-author, and Dr. ISWA from Ethiopia is the co-author. My idea is, with this book, we will go in front of the policymaker with the wheel. And I am positive. I believe the politicians and policymakers, if they know the right technology, they are going to use it. We need to change our approach. We cannot keep blaming them that they are not listening to us. Maybe they are listening to us, but they are not seeing what we are showing them. We need to go in front of them, show them the technology. I am very optimistic that they will going to adopt the new technology if they can see it. And through this book, we are hoping we can get in front of them. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I will get to the question now. James, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, didn't turn on the mic.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hussain. That is very inspiring presentation. And I do have a few questions here lined up for you. And the first question is related to finances. And okay, the question goes this way. So how do we finance? So many municipalities are bankrupt, cannot borrow money. National government don't have money to finance. Donor funding is problematic. Investment in cap exit, but not operation expenses. Resource back to dumps and abandoned MRF. So the question is that how do they do this financing transition?
Okay, that's a very good question. The way I would approach it, let's say, I have an operating budget now, okay? Most of the operating budget right now, if you look at the slide that I show somewhere, system and output, we're spending all our money on system. What is that? We're collecting them, we're dumping them in the dump site or somewhere. Within our budget, we are collecting the waste, right? If we, even in the dump site, if we redesign the dump site, pick out a space and start sorting the material from them, we can get valuable recycle out of it. We can get compostable material out of it. If we can start with our existing resources and make some product out of it, we will start generating money ourselves. So maybe the government is not willing to give us money, but if we show the government that, okay, if we change our operation practice, we can change it from liability to asset. We may need initially some capital investment, but if you give us the opportunity, if you give us some money initial, if we follow the output process, if we can make the gas out of it, if we can get composting out of it, if we get some material that can be used for infrastructure, immediately from liability, it goes to a profitable venture. There are many landfills that I worked with, they don't get that much funding from the city. They operate on their own self-generated money. So is the funding difficult? Yes. If we can we really change our current system and make our existing liability into a profitable venture? Without any question. If you need to talk to me more about it, we can talk about it. This is a topic for 1 hour discussion topic. But can we, with the limited fund, can we change the fate of our operation? Without any question. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. And second question is, what is the best way that developing countries can balance the need for better waste management technologies with issues of affordability, the people, and financing the government?
Again, financing and affordability. Once again, I will go back. We already have an infrastructure in place. We're collecting some of them, we're not collecting some of them. If you are a young, mid-20s, mid-30s, young waste management professional, I want to tell you, you need to get into the waste collection business right away, okay? Not because, let's say you don't care about the environment, you don't care about anything, it's okay. You collect the garbage, you clean the city, you make money, along the process, city gets cleaned. My point is there are a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs. There are a lot of opportunity for private investors. How that opportunity can be used when they know actually how they can make money. If you cannot show the private investor, they cannot make money out of it, they are never going to be interested. So they need to know the whole system. Once they look at the full system from collection till the final processing, there are a lot of small steps where private investor can get involved. Now, if city doesn't have the full funding, it's okay. It can be private, public-private enterprise. It can be a partnership between public and private. Private needs to get involved. We can involve private. Now, this private can be young entrepreneurs. Private can be big corporations. If we combine these two together, there is a lot of money. Everybody, whoever is asking question about financing and lack of funding, if you follow certain way, next 5 to 10 years down the line, if I have another webinar, nobody is going to talk about money. They will going to talk about only one thing. How can we make more money? Because they will already be making money. So to answer the question, there are a lot of opportunities that we can turn around this from liability mindset to asset mindset. With limited funding, we can always start with limited funding and grow from there.
Thank you. Next question is about human behavior. So how do we change people's paradigms of waste effectively, especially in developing countries?
This is an excellent question. And, I think in the first 5-10 years when I worked, I paid less attention on the social implication on human behavior than now. Now I'm investing a lot of time on this aspect of the waste management. If you look at in the big picture, we are not really managing the waste. We are not trying to fix the environment. We are trying to help the human. There are two issues. One, humans are creating the problem. Two, humans are getting affected. When we're managing the waste right, we are helping the people who are getting affected. There comes the social psychology or social aspect of waste management. We can always blame the politicians. We can always blame the policymakers that, okay, they are not doing it. One small example. That way, it will be very clear to everybody and it's the timely. COVID mask. It's a very simple thing. You take off the mask, you have a designated location, you put the mask in there. Based on the current data, more than 80% people are not following the regular policy to put the mask in a designated bin. They're just littering. So if we don't change ourselves, if we don't try to help the community ourselves, if we don't try to help the environment ourselves, policymakers, politicians cannot do anything. We need to, now, why someone will care? We need to come in front of them. You need to create a social awareness program. That becomes more important than the technical solution and implementation of those. So every city, every country needs to come up with creating social awareness program. That is more important. Whoever asked that question, I want to really appreciate this question. That is more important sometimes than the actual technical implementation. Because if people are not changing their habit, if people are not listening, no matter how many technology you come up with, you cannot provide comprehensive solution for waste management.
Very good, thank you. Next question is, can you comment on the mechanical biological treatment in landfills?
Yes. Go ahead. You said N. Is there any?
So yeah, in MBT plant, basically, in landfill.
Yeah. Now, Europe, especially in UK, there are a lot of MBT plan. Now, when you have a MBT plan in Europe and when you have a MBT plan in South Asia, the nature is going to be completely different. Why? In Europe, waste characteristics, you have more paper, more plastic, more metals, and less organic. Okay. If you try to, whatever the way they're processing it in Europe, if you go to South Asia, it's going to be completely different. Because your organic content is going to be 80%. Your paper plastic is going to be very little. Okay. Now, there are some facility in India, few companies contacted me. They're trying to treat this organic waste and putting it in a high pressure, high temperature environment and making coal out of it. They're mechanically treating the organic waste to make coal out of it. And that coal that's coming out, they're using it for different, burning purposes, which is basically there is no greenhouse gas emission. Okay. Is it possible? Yes. But we have to, once again, we have to look at the waste characteristics. Based on the waste characteristics, we can focus on a special kind of mechanical biological treatment. Now, the smart facility, if you look at it, it's a treatment facility. It's mechanical, biological, chemical, all treatment facility placed in one location. It can have organic composting, it can have recycling, it can have biocell, it can have waste to energy plant. All in one place is still, that's a treatment facility. That's not a landfill anymore. That's not a waste management facility anymore. That's a treatment facility.
Very good. Thank you. Next question is about what is the best composting method in developing countries?
This is a sorry. There is no best, there is no worst. Again, based on the local condition, there are many, people are using vermicomposting. There are many people using, they have a gallon size composter, they're composting there. They have a local community composting plant. They have household level community composting plant. Now, once again, I keep going back to emphasize, I cannot emphasize this more. You need to have customized solution for your waste characteristics. What kind of waste you are getting out of it? Is it mainly the kitchen waste? Is it mainly, household waste? It is coming from the office area, it's coming from the restaurant. Looking at the specific type of waste, you can design your composting facility. Now, we are also working on another project where, we're not talking about waste composting facility anymore. We're talking about household level composting. And in Canada, there is a company who are promoting their product, aggressively to do the composting household level. Now, we are also talking about household level anaerobic digester instead of composting. Why? If you go to the rural area, their waste characteristic is more than 90% organic waste in the rural areas. If they collect it, put it in the household level AD, what is they are getting? The gas they are getting, they can use for cooking. They can avoid the indoor air quality pollution and hazard that coming out of the health condition, because of the current practices. So my focus is more on household level AD than household level composting, because I want to eliminate this, indoor air quality issue and save those kids, women and children in the rural areas in the world.
Very good. Appreciate the answer. I think it's very good tied to your presentation as well. So I will have the last question due to the time. This may be the most important one because it gives us some good inspiration about what the future is going to look like. So the question goes this way. What is the current status of building commercialized or scale of your smart facility, and what is the major challenges to tackle it?
Excellent question. I would love to have half an hour to answer this, but short answer.
Take all the time you want.
First and foremost, once again, I was working with City of Denton Landfill, in the City of Denton Landfill itself. So they did not call that facility a landfill, they call it an eco park. Okay. For me, that eco park is a smart facility. Once it goes through that gate, there is a sorting facility. Some goes to the composting, They also have household level composting material directly goes to, they have a composting facility, they have a biodiesel facility, they have a sorting facility. They have everything that I showed here. Was it like this 20 years ago? No. They have to go through a lot of education process. Number one, educating the community members, reaching out to them, creating a social awareness why they should separate some of the things in the household level if they want to get the better environmental output out of it. Number one. Number two, when you are working with the residents and community members, you also reach out to the politicians and policymakers, people who make the decision. Now, if you are a landfill operator or waste management operator, politicians sometimes will listen to you, sometimes won't listen to you, but they will definitely listen to one group of people, that the residents, whose vote they are going to vote for to come up to the office again. Mm-hmm. So if you only talk to the politicians and you don't educate the residents, it's not going to work. If you talk to the residents only, don't talk to the politicians, it's not going to work. It mm-hmm. has to come together. So once you put this component, social component, together first, then comes the next component that environmental scientists or engineers should go and tell them how it works. But the social component is more important to put all these pieces together than any other component.
Very good.
Sense? I know we are out of time.
Yeah, makes sense. And thank you, Dr. Hussain, for your incredible presentation. And we hope that the participant will take it to heart and think about it. And hopefully in the future, we'll see some smart facility all over the developing countries.
Now, before you go, I know there are a lot of audience listening from many different countries. If someone design a smart facility because of today's presentation, remember, if you are owner of that facility, I need to get 10% profit sharing from there.
Very good, Dr. Hussain. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody for dialing for today's webinars. And appreciate your participants. And if you have any other question that is not answered today, that we will try to answer in the different platforms, hopefully through correspondence. And you can always email to the General Secretariat regarding this webinar. Give us some feedback so we can improve for the future webinars. Thank you so much, and everybody have a good day and good night.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hussain.